These are my personal biases towards the state of the Texas. So I am going to be telling you my personal biases towards the state of Texas and why, with all the shit that does happen in the state of Texas, reason why I still believe that you should move to this state. One, I'm going to tell you the negatives first. It's going to piss off a lot of Texans, but I'm a native Texan, so fight me. Okay. Don't move to Texas if you don't like heat or you don't like humidity in the central and southern part of Texas and northeastern part of Texas. Do not move here. If you don't like tornadoes, do not move to the northeast part of Texas. If you like snow, you're gonna move to the panhandle of Texas. And I don't actually like snow because it's slippery and I don't like sliding in cars. It's scary. So, reasons to move to Texas. Oh my God, there's so many reasons. Okay, so with my personal biases, I'm going to say the reasons why you should move to Texas immediately is to get out of the hellhole that you're living in now. Second, you should move to Texas because Texans are cool. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Texas is a little bit more affordable than most other states. It is not the most affordable state, but it's getting there. Texas prices on apartments, houses, insurance rates are a little bit higher than Florida's, but they're not as high as like California, or New York or New Jersey, Maryland, Maine, even. Another reason why you might want to move to Texas is to get the hell away, like I said, from the hellscapes. And you know what I'm talking about. I just don't want to say it. Another reason you might want to move to Texas is because if you love weaponry, Texas is a very friendly weaponry state right now. It might turn later, but not now. So if you love your rights, then you might want to move to the state. Unfortunately, I believe that rules are going to get stricter in the next 4 years. I do believe that things are going to get a lot stricter throughout the whole country, thanks to bad policying. Texas itself, though, what I like about Texas, for the most part, most roads are intact. Most roads have pretty good maintenance. So if you like to drive, you like to go to parks, recreation, you like to go and do, biking. You have a whole desert in Southwest Texas to go off-roading. There's a lot of off-road trails in West Texas. There's deserts for miles to enjoy your dune buggies, motorbiking, or whatever the hell they call it. You can do a lot of bicycling in Texas. Our roads are not for the most part, there's a lot of places in Texas you don't want to ride your bike because we're not really a bike-friendly state. At least, well, San Antonio is not really a bike-friendly place. You'll probably get hit. So you definitely don't want to be riding a bicycle on major roads in San Antonio. Austin might be a little bit more friendlier when it comes to bicycles. Dallas, I wouldn't recommend it. People drive like maniacs in this state, so I definitely don't recommend that. For motorcycling, like motorcycles, I also would not recommend living here with motorcycles, because if you live here with motorcycles, you might be driving down one of these back road Texas roads, and in these back roads Texas roads, you might hit something with your motorcycle and die. So you don't want to do that. You definitely don't want to do that. And I'm just telling you the truth. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. But I'm just trying to tell you the truth. If you want to listen to me, I'm going to tell you everything about the state that I know about. Alright, so let's learn about Texas. During the summertime, highs can get above 100 Fahrenheit. They could even get above 110 Fahrenheit in extreme cases. Some areas may receive 105 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Average humidity can be from 30 to 80%. 30% is West Texas, 80% and 90% in Houston during the summertime. It'll get just as bad as New Orleans, Louisiana, and you don't want to do that. So if you like humidity, you're definitely going to want to live in Houston. If you have breathing problems, you're going to want to live in places like El Paso. Lower the humidity, the easier it is to breathe. That is a fact. You can look it up. If you're okay and you don't have any breathing issues, you can go ahead and move to, well, it depends. What can you afford? Austin is the most expensive place in Texas other than Dallas. Dallas can get pretty fucking expensive for no reason. Houston is expensive, but there's a lot of things to do in that city. A lot of things to do. You can go to oceans. You got ocean, you got rivers, you got lakes. I mean, there's a lot of things to do. Now, if you're more into the remote areas of Texas, you're going to want to move to like, just depends on your budget. If you're cheap and you can't really afford a lot of things, you could move to South Texas, which is called the Valley of Texas. Now, the problem with the Valley is it's hotter than hell year round. You're looking at higher temperatures sometimes than even Key West. You're looking at higher temperatures than Miami and higher humidity than Miami. But here's the weird part of South Texas. The weird part of South Texas is, let me show you. Give me a second. All right, so the weird part of South Texas is, let me show you. I need you to learn it, okay? You got to learn it. All right, so the weird part of South Texas is, and you got to pay attention to this. So from about South Padre Island west to about McAllen, Texas is a southern part. Let me turn the brightness all the way up. Hold on, there we go. Okay, so the southern part of Texas here, where the border's at, can't really see that, can you? Okay, McAllen, Texas, and there's Brownsville. Okay, so what happens is you're right near the border of Mexico. Rent is cheap out there. You can get a really nice apartment. You're right near the ocean, and you're also near SpaceX, which is in extreme South Texas, right near the border of Mexico and the United States. But you can get a really nice house or an apartment for less than $1,000. If you're looking for a cheap, safe, remote areas of Texas, you would start maybe in Harlingen, Texas. It's dangerous, but not everywhere in Harlingen is extremely dangerous. Especially if you just leave people alone, you'll be fine. If you're looking for like a rich experience for what the state of Texas offers, you're going to want to move to San Antonio. Now, I live in the San Antonio area because I'm from San Antonio, but I have my biases towards this city. I think San Antonio is the best city in Texas. I know it has its problems. It is ran majority by Democrats. Austin is majority Democrat. Dallas is majority Democrat. Houston is majority Democrat. But the whole state around it, including the Valley, is also Democrat. However, for the most part, the Democratic cities are San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, and I think College Station, but I'm not 100% sure. Now, if you're looking for more of a Republican remote area, you're looking for like the Trump side of Texas, you're going to move to pretty much any major mile to major city. maybe like you can move to places like this, and they got affordable rent prices too. But the Texas rent laws are different than your state. They're very strict. If you don't pay rent, they will kick your ass out. And I'm telling you this, they have no care. A good place that you can move to, but you're gonna get tornadoes during the summer and squall lines. It happens every single year, so I can positively say this. San Angelo gets tornadoes. Midland or Odessa gets tornadoes, can get tornadoes. Lubbock, Amarillo, tornado action. You'll get tornadoes there. But Plainview, Texas, Lubbock and Amarillo, this is the panhandle. You can get 1 to 2 bedroom for less than $1,000 in some areas here. If you're looking for a really small town, but you still want to be near a major city while still being able to afford it right now, you're going to want to live off of IH-10. You need to live off of IH-10 or I-20. And I'm telling you right now, you could live off the sliver of I-40, but mainly you want to live off of IH-10. Let me explain why. If you're from California and you still have family in California, it would be very wise for you to move to an area in Texas that is remote, but not too remote. So, I recommend a city like Kerrville, Texas. I recommend a smaller town like Bandera, Texas. I actually recommend the desert areas of Texas because they're cheaper, drier during the winter, and it's not as humid during the winter. Cooler than normal temperatures, by the way. Let me give you an example. Kerrville could be 15 degrees cool, up to 15 degrees cooler than downtown San Antonio without any wind, radiational cooling. Kerrville's elevation is higher than San Antonio's elevation. So if you want colder temperatures and possibility of snow every few years, you're going to move to Kerrville or Junction. So these cities, I call them the drive-through cities because that's what you do is you drive through them as you're going to San Antonio or Houston. So you could move to Fredericksburg. Look it up on your Google Maps. Fredericksburg, Texas. Really nice area. Very exclusive. It is actually considered one of the nicest small towns in the whole state of Texas. And it is a Republican-based town. It's not Democratic. So if you're a Democrat, you would be living in Republican territory. The majority is trucks and vans that live in that town. So you'll have to get yourself a truck if you want to fit in. And if you're from California, change your plates immediately to Texas so they don't know that you're from California, because over the last 6 months, I mean, they have a pure hatred for Californians. So change your plates as soon as possible. If you're from Oregon or Washington and you are more progressive or whatever, then you're going to want to move to a place called Austin. If you're not familiar with Austin, I don't know how, but you need to get the hell out of Portland, Oregon while you can. Ted Wheeler is a terrible mayor. If you're going to move from Seattle or anywhere in Washington, like maybe, I mean, you could get away with living somewhere else in eastern Washington because I think it's more Republican. But if you're looking for cheaper prices, you're going to want to move to Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, but you don't want to live near Wyoming. Let me explain why. This is why a reason why you need to move to Texas. If you live in Wyoming, you could go to Cheyenne. I don't know how to say it. Sorry, Casper, Wyoming. Cheyenne, or whatever the hell they call it. I don't even know if that's the name of it, but something like that. It's near Denver, north of Denver. There is a gigantic fucking volcano in Yellowstone National Park. So if it goes off, you're not going to be able to escape. So I don't actually recommend moving to Montana or Wyoming. I don't recommend moving to western Colorado or northeastern Utah. If you're in southwestern Utah, you have a better chance of survival. If you're in southeastern to east central Colorado and Kansas, you can get the hell out of there within time if volcano erupts. Tsunamis. Okay, so Texas does have a coast, but Florida is kind of in the way of being large, gigantic tsunamis, unless a massive earthquake happened in the Gulf of Mexico. We have very special plates that would not cause a significant tsunami in Florida or Texas. Surprisingly, Florida does not get that many tsunamis because of the way Florida is made. It's very plain, boring. The water's not very deep near Florida, so you can't really get that gigantic tsunami action. It can happen, yes, of course. But if you actually go to Florida and you start walking in the water, you'll be walking for quite a while with your head above the water. So that makes it good because if there's a massive earthquake, you're less likely to get a gigantic, terrible tsunami that you can't go anywhere and hide. Remember, Florida does not have any hills except for a couple. There's not very many hills in Florida unless you go near the Georgia border. So if you live in Florida, you live in Texas, you're going to be safer from tsunamis. Now, the problem with Texas is tornadoes are the bitch. So, if you live north of Austin and anywhere in between Texarkana all the way west to west of Amarillo, Texas, and southwest to about Marfa, Texas, to about eastern, from anywhere there all the way to Beaumont, Texas, you can get tornadoes. And all the way down to Brownsville, anywhere in there, if the right weather is right, you can get some big ass fucking tornadoes. Big fucking tornadoes. Wedges. Now, Texas, San Antonio does not have sirens for this. The Air Force bases, they do have sirens, but they're not really meant for tornadoes. They're meant for like if there's like going to be like a nuclear war. However, Dallas has tornado sirens and all the surrounding towns. Dallas, Fort Worth, Wichita, Temple, Texas have tornado sirens. I don't know about Temple, but Dallas has tornado sirens. Houston, I don't remember if they have tornado sirens. I don't know if they do. I'm not gonna look that up too. I don't know, because that's what I say. If I don't know, I don't know. However, some of the small towns do have sirens, but mainly they don't start carrying sirens until you're about 200 miles north of San Antonio. So once you're about 200 miles north of San Antonio, you'll start seeing sirens. And west, all the way to about Amarillo. If you're gonna live in Oklahoma, rest in peace to you, because a big old fucking EF5, fucking 300 mile per hour winds could just come slamming down, and I wouldn't recommend living in Oklahoma. Dallas occasionally gets big old wedges, big tornadoes, so I don't recommend living there unless you want to. It's more progressive in Dallas, but there is gigantic tornadoes. Austin. Now, this is a very interesting town to live in. It is extremely democratic. It is extremely progressive. It is LGBTQ friendly. And I know this because I've driven this whole state multiple times. I've literally put almost 100,000 miles on my car driving through Texas. So I know the state pretty well. I've driven through every single major town in this state. It's so hard to do. You don't understand. I've already been through 80 counties. And that's not even tipping the iceberg, by the way. That's not even close to how many counties there are. I've only been through about 80 counties. I haven't even visited the whole... It's not possible. It's just not possible to visit all the counties unless I had, like, millions of dollars. It's just not possible. To visit all the counties in Texas would be horrendous. And it would be a feat that I cannot do. But I know all the major cities. I know what they look like. I know how they act. I've lived here. I've heard crimes from different cities. It's when you get out in the country of Texas, you're safe for the most part, especially if you got your Second Amendment rights. If somebody comes on your property, it's best to install motion detectors and have them binging in your house the second they go off. Motion detectors are extremely important if you live out in the country. However, most of the time, nobody's going to bother you. So, if you want to live within a 50-mile radius of a Walmart, you're going to want to live near a moderate to big city. Or somewhere near Midland, Texas, like I said. Dallas, the surrounding cities of Dallas. But pretty much anywhere in the country, you can be fine. Let me think. Austin is progressive. San Antonio is getting there with the progressiveness. Thanks for the shade. Hey! I want the shade! Okay. So, Austin, Texas. San Antonio. Dallas. Houston. Brownsville, Texas would be a great place to live. El Paso. Midland, Odessa. Lubbock. Amarillo. Sanderson, Texas. A lot of people don't know about Sanderson. It's not that big of a city. There's not that many apartments. But you could buy some serious land out there in the desert. It's really beautiful. What else? El Paso is very progressive too. El Paso. Great city. Great people. Been there, done that. It's right off of Interstate 10. Oh, by the way, if you're from California, you're already familiar with Interstate 10 if you live in the Southern California area. Great place to live. Oh, Interstate 8 connects right, Interstate 8, I hope I'm saying that right. Interstate 8 connects from San Diego to Arizona to Interstate 10. I think they connect. Let me look. Yes, yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, Interstate 8. I got it right. So, Interstate 8, if you're from San Diego and that area, take Interstate 8 east. Get the hell out of California. I love California, but right now you want to get the hell out. Take Interstate 8 all the way past Yuma. Yeah. All the way past Gila Bend. And it'll connect to Interstate 10. Now, once you get on Interstate 10, or take Interstate 10 from Los Angeles, get the hell out of there. Come to Texas. Try to move. Don't try to move to the big cities if you can. Try to move to a smaller town and enjoy the peace, the lack of traffic in the smaller towns. I don't want to leave San Antonio if I don't have to. I like the city because this is where I'm from. But if I had a choice, I would move to a place like Kerrville or Fredericksburg, Texas. It's in the hill country. It's beautiful, and it's extremely quiet at night. Or if I wanted flatland territory, I guess, I would move to a place like Floresville or Pleasanton, Texas. Jordanton, Petite, Castroville is another nice little area, but it's too, to me, Castroville, I think it's too, Uvalde. Uvalde is kind of it's a nice place, but Uvalde is a very redneck area, okay? I'm going to say it. Uvalde is extremely a redneck area, and even I don't like it. And I'm not talking about Trump supporters. It's just a redneck area. A lot of ghetto crap happens in Uvalde, Texas. I know this because I've been there. And I know this because I lived there for a couple of months. Don't recommend moving to Uvalde, Texas. It's nice, but I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, so San Antonio, El Paso, Dallas. If you want to stay on Interstate 10, near it, if you want to stay on Interstate 10, that might be a good idea for you. So you would want to pick a city that's near Interstate 10. I recommend that because if you have family in California, you can just drop on 10 and head west. You don't have to worry about driving like 300-400 miles on a different interstate, getting confused. If you have family, they can just get right on Interstate 10. All they have to do is head east. They never have to get off the freeway for the most part, unless there's some construction or maybe a car accident. Hey, get on Interstate 10 and head west back to California to meet your family or see your family in Cali. Now, if you're from New York or New Jersey, hear me out. A lot of New Yorkers move to Florida. But recently, because of all the restrictions, unnecessary restrictions in my opinion, regardless of what you think, people are starting to move to San Antonio, Houston, and Dallas. So, it depends on what you want, but I've been telling you right now, if you want to move to Texas, you're going to move to a great state. There is a lot of great people. Watch your back. There are thieves and robbers and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's a great place to live. My opinion. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. I know I've been rambling, but I'd recommend that you guys move to Texas. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. This has been the Planet Earth here. Bye.